It is Sunday edition of The Handle here on Draftking Network and VSiN. Matt Brown, Mike Somich coming to you here from Las Vegas. As always, proudly brought to you by Draftking Sportsbook, an action-packed Sunday from a sports perspective. We will get down to just about every single bit of it. Maybe we'll try to even work in some UFL or something.
We got some NBA coming up. We've obviously got some March Madness, Major League Baseball in full swing. And Matt, there's a mandatory pick six payout at Gulfstream. $7.5 million pool.
Oh, buddy. Well, we'll talk about that in just a second as well, because I might be coming for your gig. I might be coming for your gig around here. But let's talk about something that everyone was looking at and was betting yesterday, and of course, 4 teams. And so let's talk about just what we saw yesterday, Mike, and some big takeaways in all of that. And I think if you were watching and you were sitting there going, "Oh man, I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good about my Illinois ticket." Everything's rocking and rolling. Like, I think that they're making some shots. We're sitting here watching UConn not be as efficient as they had been, and so okay, everything's great. 23-23 with a minute and 40 some odd seconds left in the first half, and then we look up and it was 53-23, a 30-0 run. UConn goes on, and Illinois then, of course, was just absolutely dead. Watching that game yesterday, and we said multiple times, if the shots aren't falling, whatever, this thing could get out of hand. And it's just Illinois didn't take advantage of when UConn was in kind of neutral there at the beginning of the first half. There was a very good opportunity for Illinois to go into halftime ahead. There was a very good opportunity for when UConn was sitting there and almost allowing Illinois to get down low. They were missing layups. They were doing everything they could do to allow UConn to go, "Oh, okay, we're just going to go ahead and do this now."
Yeah, here's the thing. If you tell me UConn's got 28 at half, Illinois' got to have the lead. Yeah. They've got to be up 10 in that spot, right? And you mentioned the missed layup. They missed over 20 layups in that game. Just absolutely brutal from the bunny range there, is a little Easter pun, if you will, from Illinois. And you kind of felt it coming. You felt like Illinois missed their opportunity, because this is a team that struggled on the defensive side and held a very efficient UConn team to just 28 points in that first half. And then the onslaught came on in the second half. At one point, I looked on my app, and I'm like, oh, it's 23-0 in the second half, and Illinois has 23 points in the game. That's not good. You're not going to win many basketball games that. And they actually came back a little bit. They cut it to 25 to end this game. But look, UConn, we said it yesterday, they're a truck. They're a very well-rounded team. And if you're going to get the opportunity to beat them, you better take advantage of it. And Illinois just completely squandered that advantage early in that game. Yeah,
you look, and we said sometimes the telltale story of the game can be what the other team shot from three. Not in this one. UConn was 3 of 17 from downtown for 18% in the game, and still was able to win the game 77-52, because, again, there were just a lot of opportunities early. And that's not to say that Illinois would have won the game, but they had at least a chance to go into halftime with the lead, and maybe they figure something out along the way. When they just squandered that opportunity, you just knew. You felt it. Yeah. You felt the shift. There was a very specific layup that when it didn't go in, I remember it washing over me, right? I was going, "Oh, well, that's the end of this."
Yeah.
That's the end of this. I think it would have put them up 2 points. Instead, they didn't score again for 30 points. It was absolutely wild. And UConn, just your favorite for a reason here.
Yeah, you are. And this is a complete team. And like I said, you have to take advantage when they're not playing well. This was the first time we haven't seen UConn play well in the last 10 tournament games now?
Yeah.
And Illinois couldn't take advantage of it. They just couldn't take advantage of the opportunities they had on the offensive end. Again, they held UConn to 77. Mm-hmm. That's where Illinois needed UConn to be. The problem is Illinois scored 52.
Yeah, and Clemson, Alabama, RIP, my 175.
It was a good run.
It lasted for all of 2 days.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I ended up, once UConn had won, there wasn't a great hedge opportunity for me. I had to just let it ride, and so that ticket just died.
Yeah, UConn 11.5 point favorite right now over Alabama, the minus 800, 700, I believe it was last I looked. So it would have been very hard to hedge that in the next round against UConn as well. I thought this was a really good game. Alabama just absolutely throwing up 3 after 3. We saw them take over 15 threes in the first half. Sears started out cold. He ended up hot. He was phenomenal for Alabama here in the second half. And once those 3 balls started falling, it felt like Alabama was in control of this game. I'll call it from the end of the first half on, really, where they never looked like they were going to lose this basketball game. And this if I'm looking at the bracket and who's left, and UConn should be the decided favorite. We've talked about that for a couple weeks now. This Alabama team has a puncher's chance to beat UConn simply because of that 3-point variance that you mentioned. If they put up 53s, which that sounds crazy, it's not out of the realm of possibility, and they hit 25 of them, 30 of them, which sounds, again, crazy, but not out of the realm of possibility, this could be a difficult matchup for UConn if they are not able to be as efficient on the offensive end. And the difference between Illinois and Alabama to me, Illinois, Shannon was really your scorer.
Yeah.
Alabama has 4 or 5 guys that can light it up from outside.
But we have 5 more things that we're looking to bet today here on the program.
All right, classic. High five.
It's time for the Handles High Five.
High five. All right.
Of course, that rolls right on into the 2 more games today, and Tennessee, Purdue, North Carolina State, and Duke as we sit right now. The hook has gone over at DraftKings. It is 3 in favor of Purdue. 147.5 is your total. Duke is 7-point favorites over North Carolina State. 143 our total there. We will get into both of these games in depth here into the next segment, but we have seen at least some money here this morning come in on Tennessee.
We've seen money coming in on Tennessee, so they moved from 3.5 down to 3, and we've seen Duke money today as well. That game opened at 6, it's gotten as high as 7 in some places now, so money coming in on Duke as well. Rematch of the ACC tournament final there in that game. And Matt, I'm excited to get to next segment. I've got futures on both Duke and Tennessee to make the Final Four. Duke at plus 550, Tennessee at plus 350, plus 365. I'm kind of in a conundrum of how to bet these games because I'm sitting on those futures, so I'm looking forward to talking through that with you.
Yeah, we'll talk through that. And, of course, Aaron Moore going to join us in studio to give us his thoughts on the games today as well. Let's keep it rolling.
Number 2.
Zack Cohen going to join us a little bit later to talk professional basketball. We've not forgotten about the NBA. It is kind of everyone's excited because it's the beginning of baseball season. It's March Madness. Everyone talking about March Madness. You got all these other things going on, and NBA kind of falls, to the wayside here. But we have a nice slate of NBA games today, and so we're going to talk through those with Zach.
We are. I'm excited to talk about the Battle of Texas. Did you know the Rockets have won 11 in a row? They're just one back of the playing game right now, trying to catch the Warriors, who have been on a little bit of a slide here. So I'm excited to talk through that. And
just 2.5-point dogs in that game.
I know. And they've been playing very well. Like I said, 11 in a row. You're playing very well everywhere. But they've been playing exceptionally well on the defensive side at home. And this is all about Sengun as well, who was widely thought of as one of their best or second best players on that team. He's been out for this stretch. I'm excited to talk about this Rockets team and see if it's real or not.
Yeah, we got a Thunder Knicks game that's only 1.5 spread. We've got us a 5-point spread with the Cavs and Nuggets. So we got us some good ones. There's a bunch of double-digit spreads games today as well. We'll see if there's any way to play those in Zach's personal opinion. But again, run through the whole NBA slate with him. Let's keep going.
Number 3.
We do this each and every show, and we allow my good buddy right here, Mike Somich, to give us his knowledge on not only what happens out on the track, but what happens on the ice as well. And I don't want to steal his thunder here,
but
I'm going to just go right ahead and steal the thunder. Yesterday, we had some big races, which I may or may not have been aware were taking place yesterday until you put them on our nice little rundown, and we were able to talk them through. But I go into my nice little betting app and pop open the race and decided to go ahead and hit me a trifecta and a superfecta yesterday. And I'm telling you now, I feel the rush whenever you see the horses go, and then you go, I'm pretty sure that finished 1, 2, 3 for me. And then when the fourth horse, which was kind of like you don't really pay attention to the fourth one that crossed, so that's you're waiting to get like the unofficial, and I'm like, who was the fourth horse? Who was the fourth horse? And when it saw it was the fourth horse too, man, it was fun. But yeah, it turned a little bit into a lot. Doesn't always happen. No, but it happened yesterday.
There is nothing more pure from a gambling perspective than betting horses, because it's a minute and a half of a lot of fun or pure torture. It's one of them too is coming, and it's interesting once you start betting them as well. You don't just look at the winner. All of a sudden you're like, okay, wait, okay. Fierceness is gone. Who's running fourth? Yeah. That's what you start to care about. It was a good day at the track for us yesterday. Muth and Fierceness both get the job done for us in the preps like we talked about. And in the Florida Derby, Grandmo the First, your boy from the Tampa Bay Derby, runs third at a big number, 21-1. And Cataclysm, the 7-horse we talked about as the live long shot, runs second at 25-1 and really juices up those payouts for us.
Will be talked a ton about as we head into this, and I know you will write numerous articles and talk on numerous shows about it. But Fierceness fell all the way in the fixed odds market all the way down to 4-1 from a Kentucky Derby standpoint. Right in your opinion?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I missed a bet. I'm ticked at myself. I didn't play Fierceness at 10-1 before that race, because if he runs that race, he's the favorite for the Derby. He won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He's run 3 phenomenal races in his life. The problem is he's run 2 races slower than what Matt could run.
Yeah,
and that makes it very difficult to know which Fierceness you're going to get. This was the first time we've seen him going 2 turns front running, so gate to wire. We'll see if that's his strategy in the Derby.
Let's keep going.
Number 4.
We talked about win totals we like to go over yesterday. Not as fun, I don't think, as what we're going to talk about today, which are some NFL win totals to go under. There are a lot more ways that a win total can go under. We see teams underperform all the time, and then we also see teams have to deal with injuries at key positions, which also can knock them down. And so will be an interesting discussion today on some of these teams that we think are going to go under that win total.
I actually was going to play 2 of yours and didn't, because I like 3 others as well. So it's a fun under section.
It's beautiful. And honestly, maybe a little controversy. I'm sure you saw my third one. Maybe a little controversy whenever we come down to get into that one. Let's wrap it up.
Number 5.
Adam Rosenberg going to join us a little bit later as well. We said the hype around Major League Baseball is real. The hype around Major League Baseball and kind of pushing NBA on the back burner a little bit. But we're going to talk through the card with him a little bit and see if there's anything he likes today.
Yeah, I'm angry at baseball. I need the Reds to win for a nice little parlay. They were up 6-4 in the 9th. They blew 2 leads in that game.
It was a bad day for Alexis Diaz, their closer. Yeah, it was brutal for him in that one. But Hunter Green did get home on the strikeout prop, even only in 4 2/3 innings. So we did get that one home as well. Let's talk some college basketball when we get back here on The Handle.
This is The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Summage on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hey, if you hadn't been to VSiN.com lately, are you in for a treat? You go in, take that browser of yours, type in VSIN.com. You can even do it on your phone, and when you do, you're going to see we actually made it mobile-focused first. You're going to go in and see that easy navigation, be able to do whatever you want to on your mobile phone. But if you take it in over on the computer as well, great navigation, new betting guides, new betting tools. We got all the odds, the betting splits, every single thing over there on the new and improved VSiN.com.
Today's the day. Go check it out.
No better time than the present, as they say.
You got all the time in the world today.
VSiN.com. It is The Handle here on VSiN and DraftKings Network. Matt Brown, Mike Summage coming to you from Las Vegas. It is time to go ahead and get into what most of you will be tuning into here early this morning. Got a tip-off coming to you in about an hour and 45 minutes is where we sit right now with this one. We said the hook is no longer available. It is 3 in favor of Purdue over at DraftKings. 147.5 is your total. Minus 166 on the money line for Purdue. And if you think Tennessee wins this thing outright, plus 140. So, Mike, one of the things that we are not able to properly handicap, and this is something I think is worth bringing up just to make everyone aware of a situation. There was a sickness in we can't necessarily say in the Tennessee locker room, but we can only assume in the Tennessee locker room. Kept one player out of the game a couple of days ago. We don't know, and I searched the internet high and low, far and wide today to see if we could get any sort of...
The beat writers let you down.
Yes, indication as to whether anybody was feeling under the weather for Tennessee. I got nada, absolutely nothing on that. But it's worth bringing up that there was at least... that was at least somewhere within the team. We don't know how widespread. We don't know if widespread at all. That being said, hasn't stopped people from going in and taking that hook that was 3 and a hook now, and we're sitting at a flat 3.
Yeah, we are sitting at the flat 3. It's really interesting day today. I can't remember a time where we had 2 Elite Eight games that are both rematches. Mm-hmm. So Tennessee and Purdue faced each other in the Maui Invitational. Purdue won that game 71-67, and the big outlier when you look at that game, Purdue shot 48 free throws in that game. You had 2 forwards from Tennessee foul out in a combined 25 minutes of game time. So a ton of trouble with Edey on the inside, specifically with fouling him. And Edey draws the most fouls of anybody in the nation. So something Tennessee has to be very aware of today. Neither team shot the ball well in that game. They both shot about 23% from three-point range, both 32% from two-point range. Tennessee had a point lead at the break. So close game, but those free throws really jumped out to me when I looked at this. how Tennessee decides to defend Edey is going to be a huge key to this, and whether or not they can keep Tennessee off the boards or Purdue off the boards because they got crushed on the boards in that game as well. I mentioned earlier, I've got the Tennessee futures tickets here to get to the Final Four. I would bet Tennessee today, but I'm not going to because I have the future tickets. And if I get a chance to get Purdue plus 3.5, plus 4 in game, I will go and take that as a middle hedge. But I like Tennessee in this spot still.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about this from if I'm just coming into this blind, right? Like I'm coming in, parachuting in. I don't have the Tennessee to make the Final Four ticket. I think I would as well. So we have Tennessee is the third in adjusted defensive efficiency team in the country going up against Purdue, which is third adjusted offensive efficiency team in the country. So it's basically one of the battle of something's got to give that's going on here. And so you look, it really is a stark contrast between these two teams, which is going to be fascinating, which why I'm very excited about this game. So inside the arc defense for Tennessee, been just a massively great defensive team all year long, but they allow just 44% shooting on 2-pointers, right? Well, you have Edey on the inside, you have the sweater. So Purdue shoots 54% on the season from 2-pointers. Now, do we see full on season averages from what Tennessee's defense is going to do for Purdue? Probably not. You're not going to see a 10-point decline, in 2-point field goal percentage. So where does that? But is there a decline at all? Right. So that's kind of one angle here. Then you mentioned the stuff about the free throws from their first matchup. One thing I guess we can say is Maui Invitational was the beginning of the year, so maybe they figured something out along the way. But still, it's worth bringing up and worth talking about. We've seen so far these refs have kind of let these guys play, right?
Look at that Duke Houston game.
Yeah, so it does make you wonder, can Tennessee play tough physical defense and not get into extreme foul trouble, and Purdue just live at the free throw line? Free throw attempts, you mentioned the 48 that took place in the Maui Classic, but it's kind of just what Purdue does. Yeah. Edey leading to a bunch of that. So 22 attempts against Grambling in the opening round, 23 attempts against Utah State in the next round. Now, Gonzaga, they only had 10 free throw attempts, but the Zags have 2 different 7-footers that play big minutes for them, right? Mm-hmm. And so that they don't have that on Tennessee. They do have Adu, who is 6'11", but nobody else that plays big minutes for them that's taller than 6'8", right? So now you get into this, can you play tough physical defense without getting your only big man in foul trouble and then allow this game to kind of play out more naturally? Or are they going to be calling a bunch of fouls and then your only big man gets into foul trouble and now you're having to play some smaller guys or inexperienced guys, and that could be the key to the victory here.
And Adu was a huge factor in that first game. He fouled out in 13 minutes, was 1 for 3 from the floor, 5 points, 1 rebound. Mm-hmm. That's not going to cut it today. Yeah. And so one of the things, if you're watching this game and you're not getting involved before the game, or if you do get involved before the game but you want to try and get a positive EV bet in during the game, watch Adu's fouls. Mm-hmm. If he picks up too early, that's going to be a problem for Tennessee.
Yeah. They have another 6'11" guy, but he's a true freshman, and he also plays literally averages only 4 or 5 minutes a game. I wonder if they just sacrificial lamb him, have him go out there and do what he needs to do and do some hacking or something, because again, he doesn't play significant minutes anyway, right?
I mean, if you get one on Adu early and and the game doesn't get out of hand, I don't hate the idea of trying to hey, the last 8-minute stretch in the first half, let's just put you out there, take 3 fouls. It's totally fine.
Right.
Because we just want to save our better player here for down the stretch, as long as the game stays within reach for Tennessee.
It's not to say, too, that we talk about so much about Tennessee's defense, but look, they have some decent scorers, and they certainly have some decent scorers that are good from kind of pull-up jumper range, which I think is going to end up being the key in all of this, because Edey just basically drops down and just gobbles up every single rebound, but he doesn't really stretch out on defense from outside the area. And so with that, if they can make these kind of mid-range pull-up jumpers, I think that there is an opportunity for Tennessee's offense to have a lot of success here against Purdue. But if those are not falling, it could be rough.
It could be a long day. And wouldn't be shocked if we see Tennessee increase their volume of 3 a little bit in this game as well, create longer rebounds, because Edey's going to gobble everything up right around the rim. But if you get it over his head, these longer, higher rebounds, that gives Tennessee a better chance to be able to go and get the ball as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game here again. As we sit right now, that's not to say that this won't get back to 3.5, but I think maybe the ship has sailed. Purdue,
I'd be surprised.
3-point favorites, 147.5 is your total. Again, if you think Tennessee wins outright, plus 140 there on the money line. Our next game, North Carolina State and Duke. This is out to 7 in favor of the Blue Devils. 143 is your total. If you think North Carolina State continues with this Cinderella run, plus 245 on the money line.
Another matchup. This was the ACC tournament final as well. So we saw this game. This was much more recent. You mentioned the Maui Invitational. A lot changes between that tournament and this tournament. Not as much changes between the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament. I find this line really interesting. Okay, so Duke was a 6-point favorite there in the conference finals of ACC final against NC State. I'm surprised we're sitting at 7 today because I would agree with this line if you looked at the body of work for both of these teams over the course of the entire season. I disagree with this line if you look at just the last 3 weeks of NC State's season. Since they started playing the way that they have currently been playing at the level they've been playing, this should be around 4 to me. And I have a Duke Final Four ticket.
Right.
I am betting NC State because I think NC State's the right side here, catching the 7 points.
Yeah, it was to me, I think, when it started to drift. And here's the other thing about this one. I don't know for sure that this one's done, because if people look, and we're talking casual bettors, and if there's ever going to be a game in which casual bettors could affect a line, a game involving Duke is certainly one of those games. And I don't know if this one's completely done. I don't know if I'm going to sit it out and see if the 7.5 comes. 7.5. Again, key numbers-ish in college basketball, whatever. Like, you would certainly like to be on the other side of 7 if at all possible. Don't know if that's going to manifest here, but it does make you wonder if someone opens it up and goes, 11 seed, North Carolina State, 11 seed, Duke, whatever. Like Duke all day long, you know. And if we don't just see that number get pounded, that'll be something maybe we can even see if there's any sort of trend over the course of the 3 hours here for the show for us.
I would love to know the liability to moneyline parlays today, because the Purdue Duke parlay is going to be a very popular one amongst the casual bettors.
Yeah, I think it's interesting the way that this has moved and then stopped at the 7 again. The 7 kind of at least a little bit of a key-ish number here, and so depending on which side of this you'd like to play, you'd like to see a 6.5 if you want Duke, you'd like to see a 7.5 if you want NC State. But boy, I'm ready for both of these games.
I'm excited. I'm excited for the Tennessee Purdue game. I think is wildly interesting just from a stylistic perspective. This NC State Duke game, Duke was just shut down on the offensive end. Watching specifically that second half of the ACC final, I want to see what adjustments they're able to make in a short time period, because NC State's coming in here knowing they can slay the Giant.
Quick update on the Houston Open when we come back in this next segment, and then we're going to hit into our Major League Baseball plays. We'll talk through the entire slate a little bit later in the show, but if we have anything in the account, we're going to hit that as well. It is The Handle here on a Sunday.
This is The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Summage on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hey, do you want to know where the bets are going, like the money and then the amount of tickets on each side of each bet? Well, guess what? We have a betting splits page over at VSiN.com that gives you that information. It's updated every 5 minutes with DraftKings odds, and we are going to give you access for 2 weeks absolutely free. Go to VSiN.com/splits, and we will get you 2 full weeks of that page for nada, zero, zilch. Go in, take advantage of it. If you haven't checked it out yet, everyone seems to love it.
Everyone loves the handle. Yes. And I'm interested to see the betting splits on these NCAA games a little bit today.
Yeah.
To see where that money is flowing in. And it's tough right now because in certain sports, you can predict the sharp, or you can see the sharp money off betting splits. With the volume we're getting in these NCAA games, it's hard to really say if it's money or sharp money that is moving some of these lines.
No, absolutely. So, again, 2 weeks free. Head over to VSiN.com/splits. A really quick update here because it's so jumbled that there's not a great way to really give any sort of insight here. But the Houston Texas Open is heading into the final round, and Taylor Moore has now birdied 1, which now puts him in a tie with David Skinn, Steven Yeager, Scotty Scheffler, Alejandro Tosti, Thomas Dietrich, all at 9 under. Akshay Bhatia and Nick Dunlap are both at 8 under. So there is a massive group of guys that are still within striking distance here to get this thing done. Of course, the name of note there is Scotty Scheffler. Yes, gunning for his third win in a row, and probably will do it. Like we'll likely do it. But the problem is he's plus 165, despite the fact that there are 6 other guys that he's tied with right now. He's literally tied with 6 other guys, and he's plus 165.
But he should be, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you had to pick him versus them one round, under pressure.
There's only one bet to be made, and the one bet to be made would be Scotty Scheffler in this. Because if you're talking about who is the guy most likely to go out and just play his round of golf, pedigree is there, the winning mentality is there. He actually lost strokes pretty badly around the green yesterday, so a little out of character for him. So he kind of rights that ship. You probably see him go out and win this thing. But again, it's plus 160, plus 165-ish, something like that. For him in a group of 7, 8, 9 people, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it to most bettors that would be a bet to go make right now.
Any shot for Nick Dunlap. Went out, shot a 63 yesterday. You're like, let's assume Scotty shoots a 66. Yeah. I think that's a fair assumption. Right, so 12 under is 13 under is the number. He's sitting at 8 under. Can he get close to replicating yesterday's round at a big number?
And therein lies the problem with this whenever you're looking at betting one of these other guys, because their floor in the round today could be 1 over.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
could
totally.
be 2 over. Scotty's floor is par, and that's like the floor. Yeah. Like, he is very, very likely to shoot 1, 2, 3, 4 under, on the round. So that's the other thing about this is, like, his floor is just so incredibly high to where even if he doesn't light it up today, he's still going to top 5, like no matter what.
So what's the top 5 number?
That's the problem. It's minus 550 because they all know that, right?
Rough.
Because his floor, is so high that he's just not going to fall down the leaderboard. So I would almost look at the top 5 markets on these other guys if you wanted to come in. Maybe spread the level. Like you're saying, Dunlap's 22-1, but also plus 220 for a top 5. So if, whatever, put a quarter of a unit on the win and then, 0.75 units on the top 5 or something if you want to get involved with one of these longer guys. But I'm pretty sure as we are sitting here at noon, whenever we're getting off, we're probably going to look and say, no, Scotty's up a couple strokes. That's
shocker.
Yeah.
He's at 11 under. No one else in double digits.
Scotty Scheffler is
wonder how that happened.
Yeah, I know. It's just, guys, he's doing historic things right now, like historic things right now. I love Tiger Woods. I grew up watching Tiger Woods. It was phenomenal to watch him in his prime. What Scotty Scheffler's doing against this quality and depth of field, I think people need to realize it's kind of Tiger-esque, right? Because Tiger had 2-3 nemesis. There are 20 different guys, 25 different guys every single tournament that could actually win, and Scotty's he's top 5ing every tournament.
Well, that's noted by the odds in the Masters, right? Where you're going to have not just the best players in the PGA, you got the LIV guys that come in there as well, and he's still sitting plus 450 last I looked. That's just wild.
Crazy wild.
It's wild.
Over in Major League Baseball, we do have a first pitch coming to you in about an hour. Braves and the Phillies. This is Chris Sale for the Braves. Ranger Suarez for the Phillies. Minus 148 on the Braves. Plus 124 for the Phillies at home as underdogs. 8.5 is your total here in this one. Of course, Chris Sale, if you've been following the tumultuous, his last few years where you actually saw signs of life with him when he's been able to go out and pitch for 3 or 4 games in a row, but it's just all these nagging injuries continuing on and on and on with Chris Sale. And so a lot of unknown with him here as he puts on the Braves uniform.
Yeah, but you know what is known? He's got a pretty good lineup that he gets to have back him
Doesn't
here.
Doesn't need to be necessarily incredibly spot on.
You don't need to be a Cy Young worthy to be able to pick up some wins here for this Atlanta lineup. They're 2-0, have won the first 2 games of this series, have been able to put runs on the board in both of those. I didn't bet this game. If I did, I'd be laying the run and a half with Atlanta. I just see so many more worlds where Atlanta just keeps pummeling the ball and Sale is good enough. And you get to the bullpen up 3, and you just try and hold it.
So let's get to a game that is on your card here. It is another one that's coming to you in about an hour. Angels and the Orioles, Reed Detmers and Tyler Wells. Tyler Wells and the Orioles, minus 155 home favorites. You got Reed Detmers and the Angels as plus 130 road dogs. 8.5 is your total here. Of course, the Orioles go out and there's going to be some talk about this Orioles team being maybe the 3rd best team in Major League Baseball if they continue to hit the ball as they are hitting. And by the way, the top prospect in all of baseball is sitting in AAA right now because they don't have a spot for. Well, they're actually just trying to keep a year of control with him.
Be honest.
But they'll find a spot for him at some point. And I mean, this is just it's crazy. This Orioles team. If you're an Orioles fan, you're set up for the next several years. It's going to be really, really fun. But here we are. What do you like in this one?
Yeah, the Orioles have the best farm system in the majors.
Yes.
They also have the best young players in the majors. It's almost not fair at this point. I'm just going to ride this Orioles train because I think two things have yet to be decided by the bookmakers, and that's how good the Orioles are and how bad the Angels are. So I'm going to keep betting the Orioles in this series. I'll lay the half run in the first 5 innings. It's minus 105. I thought that was wildly short. Look, pitching, it's kind of a toss-up, but the lineups, massive advantage to the Orioles. And I expect the Orioles to be able to put up. I saw someone else play team total Orioles over 4.5. I like that as well. I think they're scoring at least 5 in this game. I think they get a couple early. I don't think the Angels are able to hit the ball that well. So give me the Orioles first 5, lay the half run, minus 105.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but the importance of starting pitching and maybe some of these younger guys that I'm not even going to say that the books aren't aware of, but just that the price isn't going to be dictated like it would be on someone that has a long pedigree. We talked about it, Grayson Rodriguez, one of the highest rated prospects in Major League Baseball for 2 years before he gets his shot last year. We see him go out yesterday, 6 innings, only 4 hits against, 1 earned with 9 Ks. And so with pitching being such an integral part of us handicapping Major League Baseball, being familiar with some of these younger guys and understanding there might be a little bit of value on them at least early on until things all catch up and we go, oh, okay, never mind. This guy is really, really good.
Yeah.
And so I think a guy like that yesterday for sure was someone that we could look at, and I'm glad that was at least talked about here on the show.
Well, and I love how you roll that right into the Mariners play for me. I'm going to lay the first 5 half run with the Mariners. They're plus 105 taking on the Red Sox today, and Bobby Miller's on the mound. He's another one of those guys who, younger pitcher, I don't think gets as much respect in the market as he should, came up, pitched very well, and then just kind of slowed down toward the end of the season. I expect his second first full season, second season in the majors to be significantly better. And if it is going to get bad, it'll get bad around All-Star break. So I'm still willing to back him here in the first half. So we're going to go with the Mariners first 5, lay the half run, plus 105 tonight.
And then we're going to head to a total as well. This one is about 2 hours from now. The Cubs and the Rangers. Jordan Wicks for the Cubs. We got John Gray for the Rangers, minus 130 on the Rangers, and then plus 110 there on the Cubs.
Yeah, this is not a great pitching matchup. We'll just start with that. Wicks is a younger guy. He pitched 7 games in the majors last year, but only in 34 innings, he had 24 strikeouts and 11 walks. That's not good. That's a control problem, and the strikeouts aren't there to match the walks. If you're striking out a bunch of people, you can walk a couple more. But without the strikeouts against this Texas lineup, Texas should be able to get Chicago. Look at the other side. You've got Gray starting for Texas. He had a 4.75 ERA last year. Not the guy I want to back for and under here. This looks like an over game to me. Right now you can get over 9 at minus 110. You can go to over 9.5, which is what I originally bet this at plus 105. I do think we're going to get into double digits here. I made this game like 9.75. I was surprised it's coming down. I went to check the weather. There's no weather issues in Texas. Bombs away, baby. Let's get this over.
Police are searching for Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice in connection with a serious accident that occurred Saturday evening in Dallas. An update here was a Corvette and a Lamborghini were racing. They both lost control of their vehicles and crashed, causing a 6-vehicle accident. The driver of the Corvette is suspected to be Rashee Rice.
It's not great.
Maybe fire up that Chiefs wide receiver first pick. Maybe fire up that Chiefs wide receiver first pick over in your sports book of choice because he might be dealing with some things.
Yeah, that could be an issue. That could be an issue. What are we doing?
We got to circle things back to sports betting here. So it is. It's
what are we doing?
What are we doing, Rashee Rice?
Yeah, that's unfortunate for my Chiefs futures, but
but from a sports betting perspective, maybe that does lean them towards a wide receiver a little bit heavier.
You would expect that means you may not trust him for the full season here.
When we come back, let's talk some NBA with Zack Cohen, our very own Zack Cohen.
This is The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Summage on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We want to give you some bonus bets out there. If you do not have a Draftking Sportsbook account yet, head to the App Store, download Draftking Sportsbook, and when you do, you're going to make a deposit and it's going to ask you for a promo code. Type in handle, HANDLE. When you do that, Mike, we're going to give them bonus bets, $500 for every $1,000 that you wager, up to $2,500.
It's a great time for this offer, too, because we got baseball in full swing, we got hockey going, we got NBA. You can just fire every day.
It's going to be a very, very exclusive offer for you that is not going to last forever. So go in, DraftKings Sportsbook, download. Promo code handle, HANDLE, $500 in bonus bets for every $1,000 you wager, up to $2,500. DraftKings Sportsbook, crown is yours. Matt Brown, Mike Somich coming to you. If you are a DFS or fantasy baseball and or Blue Jay backer today and you care about this news, Bo Bichette has been scratched with neck spasms.
Not great.
Not great when it comes to, because anyone that they put in is not going to be as good as Bo Bichette.
No.
So
and he's on my fantasy team, so double whammy there.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we look at the baseball betting just in general, and you and I have tried to give some little tips along the way as well, but when lineups are posted, another thing you can do, guys will get occasional days off. This happens to be an injury, but guys will get occasional days off, get a breather here and there and stuff, and that could actually influence your wager as well, whether it be a prop bet on a pitcher strikeout type deal or even just your overall view of the game.
Yeah, the strikeout's a huge factor. Depending on what lineup is stacked, if you got a lefty and they throw all lefties out there, all righties out there, and understanding how the matchup sets up as well. So looking at the lineups when you're playing strikeout props is a massive part of the handicap.
Let's talk to our very own Zack Cohen here. You can find him on the Twitter machine at Betting on X and all of his great work over at the new and improved VSiN.com. Let's talk some NBA. Zach, we said this time of year, everyone's excited because baseball just started. You got March Madness going on. We're heading into the Masters. We got all this stuff going on. NBA almost seems to fall on the back burner, but not for you, buddy.
Yeah, it's a weird time of year. I mean, you see like the Blazers losing by 55 plus points with a rotation full of guys you don't know. I mean, these players are now resting a little bit more. They haven't been doing it all year, but if they hit their, game requirement, you're going to see them kind of resting a little bit more the rest of the season. You'll see some more sloppiness, but it is interesting. We have some close standings races down the stretch, so it'll be fun to watch.
And we had a minus 52 from Scoot Henderson in that game, I believe. The all-time low plus minus for on-off court. That's not great. Let's start with one of the marquee games today. We got the Thunder heading in to take on the Knicks, and it's interesting. Since we had the foul gate, right, where we're going to switch how we're refereeing the NBA, it feels like these are two teams that were affected by it quite a bit, where it doesn't benefit OKC, and it does benefit the Knicks and their style of defense quite a bit. Going to be an interesting game here in the Garden. Who do you like?
Yeah, like you said, it is benefiting the Knicks quite a bit. Over the last 10 games, they're the best team in the league in adjusted defensive rating. I do like the Knicks in this game. I just think that, it's one of the few teams in the league that if SGA is out there, the Knicks have a point guard that can kind of go blow for blow with him offensively, with Jalen Brunson coming off a game where he, lit up the Spurs. And I do think that this is one of those matchups where, we worry about Oklahoma City's rebounding. Well, New York is an absolute monster on the offensive glass. They're going to be really making them work inside and get a lot of extra opportunities. And, the Knicks are also 8-1 against the spread, one coming off losses of 6 or less this season, and have won those games by double digits. And on top of that, it's just Madison Square Garden, tough place to play in a big game like this.
So let's head to the prop market here, and we are going to be looking at some Darius Garland points.
Yeah, I have the over 15.5 on Garland. Mitchell is going to be out there for the Cavs in this game. That will obviously take a few shots away from Garland, but Garland did have 26 points against the Nuggets earlier in the year, and I do think Denver is weakest at the point of attack, whether it's Jamal Murray playing through a knee injury today or it's Reggie Jackson getting more minutes. I think that's an exploitable spot in the Denver defense. And yeah, it's just the guy that has been playing well in March, averaging 18.8 points per game. So I thought this was kind of low. I don't think the Nuggets have anybody that can really prevent Garland from getting 2 feet in the paint, and whether he tries to find a teammate or goes up and finishes himself. I just think he's going to have a good game today.
That's going to be a fun game. That one's at 12:30 Pacific, 3:30 Eastern to kick off the NBA slate today. Let's go to the West here, because the West is just wild right now. We've got a game between the Warriors and the Spurs tonight. The Warriors right now one game up for that 10th spot, that final play-in spot. And then we got the Wembanyama of it all. He has been just phenomenal this year. I think we all had expectations. He has wildly surpassed those expectations in my mind. I still think he should be Defensive Player of the Year, although we realize you can't really give it to a guy who's on the Spurs at this point. Who do you like tonight here? Warriors taking on the Spurs.
Yeah, by the way, I have Gobert Defensive Player of the Year awards, and I ended up taking a little bit of money on Wembanyama just to hedge myself. But yeah, I think that this is a game that the Spurs can keep close. I know that the spread kind of makes it like a square play, but I think that the Spurs have covered in those spots all year, and I just don't trust this Warriors team right now. They're also playing their third game in 4 nights. These rest spots have been really fun to fade all year. They've just been, almost situation proof, unless it's Boston who just beats the doors off teams no matter when they're playing. But I do think the Spurs, 13-6 against the spread in their last 19 games. They are a much different team with Wembanyama playing center. The only thing I'm a little worried about here is the bench. I think that when Wembanyama goes to the bench, the Spurs show you why they are a lottery team, and the Warriors do have a good bench. So I think maybe this is one where if you're looking at live markets, you'll probably have some opportunities to get it on Golden State. But I do think that the Spurs keep this close, and I'd also sprinkle the money line. I think they're going to have a chance to win it.
Talking to Zack Cohen, our very own Zack Cohen. You can find his work over at VSiN.com, on the Twitter machine at Betting on X. Zack, we got this Rockets thing that's going on right now, and we got a game coming to us a little bit later in which they are only 2.5-point dogs here to the Mavericks, 230.5 if you were wondering what the total is in that one. What have you seen from this Rockets team? Are you an actual believer? You think they're just running on the right side of variance? What do we got going on here?
I think I'm a believer in what they'll be next year. I don't think that they're going to end up making the postseason this year. I think that the Warriors at some point, that sense of urgency will kick in, and the Rockets do have, a difficult strength of schedule coming up. But I think that what you've seen from Houston is absolutely huge going into next season, especially because you'll get Şengün back, you'll add more pieces, and Jalen Green has made the leap that you wanted to make. But I do think this is a pretty tough spot for the Rockets if Luka plays tonight. Dallas has just completely figured things out defensively, and when you have that with, Irving and Doncic offensively, that's a really tough team to stop. I think that Dallas could potentially make a run in the West.
Yeah, Ime Udoka has done a phenomenal job there for the Rockets. We saw them struggle early, but the defense has really kicked in. It seems like they're starting to listen to him a little bit more. Interesting to see him do so well after what he did in Boston. Do you think he's been a big part of this second half turnaround for the Rockets?
Yeah, definitely. I think he got through to Green. I mean, they were benching him earlier in the year, and I think that that's taken to him. I think that he's a guy that is playing a little bit harder defensively and, taking better shots offensively, even though, when you're shooting the way he does, he can shoot whatever shots he wants. But I do think Udoka has always done a good job defensively. This team has been right there in the top 10 in adjusted defensive rating all season. Kind of what we expected with Udoka coming over from Boston, where he was excellent defensive coach as well. So I think he's done a great job with them. I'm nervous that they're going to be impatient in the offseason because you keep reading these things about, the offseason plans with phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. I think they're eager to make a trade, and I hope they don't make a bad one.
Zach, we look at these awards markets this time of year. Is there anything that you think is still worth betting? Is there anything that you feel like that maybe seems like is already a foregone conclusion, but maybe isn't?
I think that you could probably grab, Naz Reid to win Sixth Man of the Year. He's only plus 140 now. Unfortunately, you probably could have gotten it at plus 800 like last week. Or if you want to go a little bit longer, take Norm Powell at plus 1200. But I don't think that Monk had the wide lead that he had, earlier in the season. People were giving him, just a really good chance of winning. I don't think he's been that much better than the other guys in this award. And he just got hurt. He's going to be out the rest of the season. So if any of these guys play well over these final 10 games or so, I think it can make a really good case.
Zach, isn't it funny that Naz Reid, though, I mean, he is not a sixth man. He's starting every single game. Like, what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah, it gets murky with this stuff. Like, I was in on Cam Thomas earlier in the year for Sixth Man of the Year, and he ended up being a starter for so long. It's hard to handicap this.
It's kind of like the most improved player, the comeback player in the NFL. Let's talk about the top.
Most improved is terrible.
Let's talk about the top of the West here. We got 3 teams within a half game right now: the Timberwolves, the Thunder, and the Nuggets. We know how good the home court advantage is for the Nuggets when they get to the playoffs. They would love to have that 1 seed, but you got 2 up and coming teams here who are trying to fight them off. Who ends up getting the 1 in the West?
Man, I think it'll end up being the Nuggets only because I think I trust the way that they're playing at this time of the year, and they are healthy compared to the other teams. I mean, Minnesota has a huge absence with Towns out. They've been playing well without him, but I do think they're going to cool off a bit, and I think that they're kind of primed for an upset early in the Western Conference playoffs. And the Thunder just been a little bit worse lately. Not anything, big, nothing major, not that I'm worried about, but it's just been a little bit worse than it was, the first half of the season. They look a little vulnerable.
If it's not Denver in the West, who is it?
I think it's Dallas. I think that they've really found something over these last couple of games. I think that the trades they made for Washington and Gafford made them a better defensive team with a little more offensive versatility. I've kind of always believed in what they did over the offseason. I thought that just kind of bringing in defensive-minded players was huge for them. And I think Dante Exum has been one of the most improved players, not actually for the award, but actually in real life basketball after what we saw from him years ago when he was in the NBA, going overseas, coming back, just such a good defensive player, now such a good shooter. I just love the way this rotation lays out.
He is Zack Cohen. You can find his great work over on VSiN.com on the Twitter machine at Betting on X. Zack, thanks for the time and good luck today, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me out, guys.
Garland over 15.5. Knicks on the money line. Spurs plus 8.5 today.
I like the Spurs play. The Spurs team's a lot of fun to watch right now. I'm looking forward to that Battle of Texas.
Good news, bad news coming back here on The Handle.